Hey, how's it going? Okay, so what I wanted to try and do is to connect what we just heard, and that's about LNG, the most damaging, especially if it's fracked, the most damaging imported fossil fuel that we use in Ireland, worse than coal, the LNG terminal, and big data. I want to hook it in with the companies in Ireland, which are the largest companies on the planet now that are public companies. I'm talking about Facebook. I'm talking about Google, Amazon, all of these boys. They use a lot of data, a huge amount of data. And this data is stored in data centers. So, I was wondering if any of you had ever thought why, with the price of our electricity, they're trying to put those data centers in Ireland, whereas they could put them in China and hook them into the internet. It doesn't really matter where they are. Why are they in Ireland? And what? The government supports them. And why do you think the government supports them? Okay, it's about money, but it's also about a thing called GDPR. Ever heard of that? You know, you call on the phone, it's like, I can't give you that information because of GDPR reasons. All right. GDPR is actually a good thing on certain levels. But Ireland is not very good at protecting it. GDPR protects data for the whole of the European Union. But it's implemented on a national level, in the same way as taxation is implemented on a national level. What does Ireland do with taxation from software companies? It basically minimizes it to that, and then it allows that money move outside the country. Therefore, it cuts the taxation on all of the European countries where that actual real activity is happening. Well, the same thing's going on with data. Ireland has a data czar, a woman called Dixon. She has a small group of people who are doing a medium to not very good job at protecting data from European citizens, which is supposedly protected by law, but it's implemented on a national level. So, why do they want to put the data centers in Ireland? Why are those data centers going to override our systems? Why are we going to get power cuts? Why are they trying to bring in a connection with the United States to import fracked gas into Clare? None of this makes any sense unless you think about the value of that data. So what we're actually talking about, rather than mining fracked gas in Ireland, we're mining people's minds. We're using big data, which is a very, very valuable resource, which is being exported out of the European Union through Ireland, and because the data centers are in Ireland, Ireland is the country that protects that data. Now, we've had one major case. I don't know if it's kind of a boring newspaper, but do you guys read the Business Post every now and again? Okay. So, the week before last in the Business Post, there was a sojourn in legal limbo because the DPC, the department that's actually responsible for protecting this data, is fining WhatsApp. Okay, so WhatsApp. How many people use WhatsApp here? I do. I also use a few other things that are a little bit more secret, but I also use WhatsApp, right? WhatsApp has been fined by $225 million by our organization that's responsible for protecting data. In other words, WhatsApp has illegally exported data outside the country. So is Facebook, so is Google, so is Apple. Everybody's doing it. They're doing it because our legal system allows them to do it. So, that's why the data centers have been put in here. And the data czar in this one major case that actually happened here. If you want to look into this a little further, look up a guy called Max Schrems, S-C-H-R-E-M-S. He's the data activist who is pushing the Irish state to actually really protect data. But in this particular case, he's being ignored. WhatsApp has been fined by $225 million. They immediately appealed. That's going to take a number of years before possibly WhatsApp pays anything, and probably they won't pay anything. Why are they choosing Ireland? Because the Irish courts get locked up for many, many years on appeals. because the Irish government would rather, I'm ascertaining this, I'm saying this, they would rather protect the outflows of data from Ireland in the same way as they protect the outflows of tax from Ireland than protect our environment and cut down the amount of energy used in data centers, which are enormous. Think about it this way. One data center in Ireland uses more electricity in a day than the whole of the city of Cork for all of the houses in Cork. So there are data centers here that are equivalent to about a 250,000 houses running every day. How do these data centers, one last thing, I'm just going to say this one last thing. How do these data centers actually work? They take some electricity off the grid, but they also have their own generators, which run on LNG. Well, they run on natural gas, wherever the gas comes from. It could be liquid, it could be non-liquid. But they also have their own backup generators. So if they cause power failures in the Irish system, their backup generators protect them, and those run on diesel. So what we've basically done is to privatize fossil fuel electricity generation and put it into these data centers. We're bypassing the system. The market is working perfectly for them, but it's not for us.